The core value proposition of the Titanium platform is that it provides a unified development experience. So traditionally, when you created a mobile application for the iPhone, you had to write it in Objective-C for the native language. If you wanted to write a mobile application for the Android platform, you wrote it in Java or Android. So these are two separate languages that are completely different in syntax, they're completely different in tool chains. They give you access to the native SDKs for the devices. This means you have full access to what the device can do. Unlike a web page or a web experience on a mobile device that only gives you access to providing content to the users, the native SDK gives you access to push notification, the accelerometer, the GPS, the native look and feel, all of those components. To gain access to those historically, you had to work in the native language. This native language caused fragmentation. It meant you had to do a development cycle for iPhone, another development cycle for Android, with two different developer types and two different development implementations. Titanium does away with all that. It allows you to write it in JavaScript, but still gain access to the native SDKs so that you can gain full access to the features that make the platform so great, like on iOS and Android. It's not just features like the accelerometer or push notification, it's also the look and feel of the application. So this is what's known as the human interface guidelines or human interface design or implementation. And that means that the look and feel, what makes an iPhone app look like an iPhone app and an Android app look like Android. So that's supported in Titanium. It's a unified code base, which means that you only have to write it once, and then you can target publish to the others. And then with the SDK, you're also developing in one development environment. And so that enablement alone multiplies efficiencies for delivering mobile apps. Additionally, the core platform it's extendable. So that means if there's a component or feature that we don't support, then you can extend it. Or if you wanted to do your own integration, like the case of TalkBox. We're integrating with TalkBox, which is a third-party provider that allows you to do screencasting on the iOS and Android so that you can do video chat and broadcasting across multiple devices and consumers. And so they have a native SDK. They're extending our SDK to make that native component available to Titanium JavaScript developers. So any JavaScript developer in Titanium can leverage those native pieces. So the module marketplace is the aggregation of those SDK components, with the exception of the SAP feature. The SAP module is internal enterprise sales only today. And so that means you have to come to us in order to sell it. You can't just buy a transaction off the marketplace. Core SDK is open source. Titanium Studio is proprietary. It's a derivative product of the FTN IDE. It's Eclipse derived. But the components that enable the special magic are proprietary. However, the core base SDK is open source under the Apache 2 license, which means that you have full visibility into how it works. You can bend and blend it to your will. If you're making a native module, you can leverage some of the pieces we've done to extend the module library, for instance. And it's a core value prop of our initiative. So we'll go through the main pieces. We'll go through Titanium Studio, the Titanium Mobile SDK, which is the binding layer, and then the cloud services and analytics. And then the marketplace also plays a factor in it. But the core products, if you will, of the Accelerator Titanium platform are the SDK, Studio, and then cloud services, Accelerator Cloud Services, ACS.
Okay.
So Tite Studio is that unified development environment. It's what really allows you to do the debugging and creation of the product. You can create a Titanium mobile application that targets iOS and Android, start to finish in Titanium Studio. Create a new project, develop. You can debug on the native simulators provided by iOS and Android. These are the simulators and emulators that are provided by the platform manufacturers. You can also one-click deploy to the store, either if it's a consumer-facing iTunes store or the Android Play Market, or an enterprise app store. For instance, the biggest growth sector right now is in internal enterprise apps. These are apps that are not published on iTunes, but they are provided for Accelerator employees or employees of the organization only. And so, of course, you can distribute to internal enterprise stores as well. The Titanium SDK is the core binding layer. It gives you parity with native development. So what that means is if you have an iOS Objective-C developer creating a mobile application, a Titanium developer can create that same application, of course, with the added benefit that they could turn around and then pivot target to the Android device, and they would have an Android native application available for their Android consumers. All the visual components like table views, tabs, sliders, Picker's Split View, which is an iPad-only component, as well as non-visual components like local storage, SQLite database, access to the accelerometers, the network facilities. Of course, in addition, there's also some additive pieces that we put on top of it, such as there's a little syntax sugar that allows you to quickly integrate with Facebook, or any Titanium application you bake automatically has Titanium Analytics built in. So you pre-instrument it. So you don't actually have to add another third-party instrumentation layer. Titanium applications come built with analytics pre-instrumented. You can turn it off if you want. And of course, that's collected on our cloud services. So the important aspect, or the special sauce for the way our platform works, which is a differentiator from some of the other competitors, and you'll hear a lot about these competitors when you talk to partner programs or customers, such as web initiatives such as like PhoneGap, which allows you to bundle build a native application, but it has some access to native SDKs through HTML and JavaScript binding layers from a web view. The differentiating between that strategy and ours is that Titanium allows you direct access to native SDK. We essentially provide an ability to write native apps in JavaScript without using a web view. So for instance, in PhoneGap, when you create a mobile application or a web view wrap solution, you still have a web view. It's just Chromeless. It just doesn't have a browser on top of it. The rendering that you're doing is going through the DOM, so it can be slower. It doesn't have access to the native SDK, so components and table views and buttons, they don't look like native components. They may be skinned to be in some cases, but they're not leveraging the native SDK. So they don't have the performance that the native SDK has, and they also don't have the look and feel. So it looks different. It doesn't gain leverage from that. Even though they may have some access to like push notifications or local storage, the lack of that direct binding layer means that they're really a hybrid web implementation. Of course, in Titanium, you can do a hybrid web implementation if you want by just creating a native web view and then loading HTML code underneath. But Titanium, the hard value proposition is that you can create a native app that has full look and feel and indistinguishable from a native language application in Titanium that's also unified.
Okay.
And so this is a brief overlay. So we've got a small JavaScript runtime that's executing inside the mobile application that provides that binding to the native SDKs that are provided. There is some overhead to that. So you have near imperceivable performance for using Titanium, but there's a little bit of overhead that occurs. Mostly it's if you're doing some heavy crunching or some components. Most Titanium mobile applications are indistinguishable from their native counterparts. A little JavaScript code. So everywhere you see like this Titanium.ui create, Titanium.ui create label, you know we're binding to the native SDK. So in this case, it creates a window, creates a label, adds a label to the window, presents it to the user.
So anyone with JavaScript program experience should be able to very quickly work with Titanium. Right? There shouldn't be
absolutely
much ramp up.
So the challenge we have is that if you come from the web world, then you're coming in with some experience in JavaScript, but you don't understand the mobile palette. You don't know what controls, what components. And since we are binding to the native SDK, it pays to understand and have some understanding of that. So the training that we have, and it's a huge acceleration on enablement to go through the training process. Oftentimes it's short-circuited, but if you go through the process, it's optimized 2 and 2, 2 days for introduction and 2 days for advanced, to let JavaScript developers coming from the web give access to the mobile SDK, the mobile palette, so that they can make mobile apps. And from that other side, if they're coming from native mobile application development, then they understand the palette, the table views, the tabs, the sliders, building applications with limited resources, limited memory, limited screen space. But oftentimes the enablement comes to the JavaScript side of things, how to create rich mobile applications in a JavaScript language, which is a little bit different than, of course, native Java, which is a straight OOP language, or Objective-C. And so that enablement goes the other way. Training is what really accelerates that. And it's very helpful both for ensuring their success, but also internally for allowing us, developers that go through and create mobile applications without going through a proper training process, create a lot of erroneous bug tickets. These are tickets that are not bugs.
Mm-hmm.
They put weight on top of help desk that could have been solved by just going through the training process. They're not really seeking higher level enablement, which is what we really want to kind of enable them to do.
Yeah.
Does that help a little bit?
Yeah, no, that's good. Mm-hmm.
So ACS is Accelerator Cloud Services. The most valuable component in ACS, or the most popular one rather, is push server notifications. This allows you to get push server messages. This is the little pop-ups inside the iOS and the Android device without having to stand up your own server.
Mhm.
And then, of course, the other ACS components are like users and status and photos or data that's cloud connected to the mobile application, and they're a pocket to put content in and pull out of. And of course, it's enabled very easily in ACS, just a couple lines of code. Then we have the analytics we mentioned earlier, which enable developers just to immediately have instrumented analytics inside their mobile app to measure success.
Quick pricing question. Maybe we're going to get this later, but is this an additional add-on, or is this?
So the products come. There's you have a freemium version of the product as it comes out, and so you have some levers and limitations on how much analytics. You'll hear tier 1 and tier 2 is the current strategy, and that means like the number of requests to analytics and the number of requests to data. I think it's push servers and push messaging is like at 1.5 million pushes. So there's a fairly high bar. If you want to go in above that, then you need to be in a supported bracket, or you need to have a credit card registered for the application, the organization, or the developer. So that means that there needs to be a way in order to charge back to track that.
Okay.
So you can enter. However, as you go above a watermark, you start to incur cost above that, and that depends on like whatever swim lane you're in, essentially. But all the services are available like out of the box. So Titanium that you download in the free version is the exact same Titanium you download in our super duper premium enterprise package. It's the exact same product. The
difference is support, level of support,
level of enablement. If you wanted to like abstract that thought. Like our ability to enable your success is kind of like a term you'll kind of hear. So because they're in a supported program, we know we can help qualify their questions, help further enable them, and help to guarantee the success of their mobile initiatives. Also, of course, they have a different watermark on cloud services. The other thing they have access to is enterprise modules. So almost all the modules are available in the marketplace, and even if, for instance, there's a module that's not available, there may be a community member that created a module. So the proliferation of modules out in the marketplace is really the first place to go to find that out. Now, the SAP module, of course, is currently in-house. It's not available in the marketplace, so it has to go through direct sales. They have to be a supported enterprise customer in order to gain access to that today. The other thing is access to our professional services. This is for work and delivery for them on the supported side. So kind of the same boilerplate analytics that support across the board, the value prop of the analytics, pre-instrumented, customizable, and mobile optimized. And of course we have the module marketplace. There's about maybe 280 different products out there. So it was released in October
These
of
are
last
all
year.
just members of the community.
About a dozen of them are Accelerator supported modules that we created and built. Others of them are Accelerator enabled. So for instance, MOB, the Geoloki was just released. Geoloki is a geolocation service that's above and beyond what's available, and it's kind of bundled and optimized for mobile. So Geoloki partnered with Accelerator. They deliver the module marketplace, and of course we have an agreement and support with them. They support and manage the marketplace, but it's an endorsed module. A whole host of the modules out there though are like independent, created and built. So it's a little bit of a buyer beware scenario. Unless it's an Accelerator supported, it has Accelerator name, then we're not supporting that product. You have to go to that third party for support.
So the Geoloki example, if a channel partner wanted to include that component in the app they were building,
they go to them.
Would they go through us, or would they?
They go through the module marketplace.
Okay.
Click buy, and go through the process. If there's some bundling or enablement, and then there's sometimes some agreements that happen around an enterprise.
Okay.
On the partner side, that hasn't really been defined as well. On the enterprise direct sales, it's a little more mature. We've had a little more runway on it, and so oftentimes we may be doing like a bundling of this content for like a very large enterprise sales. So partners that are going through that may be some of the changes we go through over the next quarter. It'll be interesting to see. Okay. Currently today, they can just go buy and enable. I think that's probably part of the problem that you get to solve.
Yeah.
Is that helpful?
Yeah.
The module, greater access, customizable, extendable, and of course the SAP module. and the SAP screencast is there.
What's the real pitch here to SAP? Because you're pitching an SAP customer, right? A customer that's using SAP, and they've already invested hundreds of $1 million in SAP.
Yeah.
What are they getting by?
So
what's their value prop here for coming to Accelerator?
So the value of an existing SAP customer to come to use the Titanium product today through the Titanium module is that historically they haven't been able to mobilize their content very well. And what I mean is they may have deep SAP data. And in the case today, they're going through NetWeaver Gateway. That's the current supported module. The next iteration version will support the SUP, or Sybase and Wired platform, which is their mobility pivot in getting that access and getting it published to mobile applications. They haven't been able to gain access to that content, and they haven't been able to create especially compelling mobile applications. They may be surfacing it in a web page that has some interaction. Titanium is really a best-in-class for the economics of mobile application development. That means that unified code base means that you gain the economic advantage of being able to write it once and deliver to multiple platforms, but also the native feature access. So if you're going to create a mobile application that has full access, for instance, you're going to access the GPS, you want push notification servers, you want the look and feel, you want a rich mobile application, then really the way to do that is Titanium. The other web scenarios that gain access to that data and content provide a very minimally dry experience to see some of the content. And historically that has been less compelling for organizations who are looking to really leverage the iPads that they've purchased for their executive team or for their sales force. And so the value is that Titanium, which brings all the pieces for the native look and feel, native access, the acceleration on delivery, the economic improvements for delivering those mobile applications, now has a road in which they can go and pull that deep data to pull out and create a compelling mobile app.
Okay. And how's this been received in the marketplace so far? Is there?
It's our most popular, anecdotally speaking, it's the most popular module. It has the most excitement around it because large organizations in IT departments and line of business, like it may be a marketing VP or a marketing director, they have a need to deliver some content to either internal stakeholders, maybe it's even people on their board. They're bringing their iPhones and their iPads to work, and they want to put that content on. But the mechanism to do that is very difficult, and especially to deliver in the consumerized experience that these mobile application consumers demand. And so they are very motivated to find a solution for this. And even though it's technically confusing and complicated sometimes, the ability to see, wow, Titanium did the NBC application on the iPad, that's amazing. That's the kind of app I want. And you're connecting to my deep data. They're drawing those lines saying, okay, how can I draw this line to get this experience with my data and content for my users? And so in many cases, those line of business or those organizations are still feeling out how that technology fit works and the nuance of it, but they can see the triangle, if you will, Titanium platform, SAP data, the device experience. I need it. How do I do it? And so you get a lot of sizzle and excitement. And these customers are used to dealing with large enterprise installations, and they're not afraid for licensing, and they understand the value of supported products and platforms. So it's very encouraging.
Okay.
Is that the question you're
No, that's good. I just want to see, just trying to determine as I get more oriented here,
I think partners are going to be the biggest part of that, quite frankly, because partners are very interested in cracking into
the one thing that SAP has done a great job of is they've created an enormous partner ecosystem.
Yes.
Because partners, small, medium, large, make a ton of money on the services around SAP. So I'm just trying to, I wonder if we should target some SAP systems integration type partners.
Absolutely.
And say, hey, here's another opportunity to bring more value to a customer.
So at the SAP convention in Florida, that was by far
the
Sapphire conference, one of the more interesting discussions. And that organization is fairly, those are net new partners in many cases to Accelerator Titanium. The majority of our partner stack historically has been around more boutique, mobile optimized delivery groups. We have some larger SIs and some more traditional system integrators and providers, but but mostly it's been around this mobile change that's occurred. And so, in many cases, the organizations that are under that SAP provider are net new partners for us, and they are very interested in this because they're having a hard time seeing how SUP product as it sits today is going to enable them in that way. So yes.
Okay.
There you go. Big marketing diagram around SAP Titanium. Let's get through that. So you'll hear about Kitchen Sink. It's just a demo app built on top of Titanium. I'll crack it open and walk through a little bit of it here in just a second. Developer workflow. I think you get the core value of that developer workflow in that is you get to develop once in Titanium in a unified language with a unified skill set delivered on multiple platforms that have been fragmented by language and SDKs and features, and also gain additional leverage by pulling in, for instance, a module from our marketplace. You don't have to reproduce that. Let's say you need a charge library, no problem. Pull it from the marketplace. Now you have a rich charge component. You can do brick and mortar style development.
When you pull something from the marketplace, is that a free component, or you?
Some are free. Some are free and have indirect models, right? Okay. So for instance, Salesforce. So you can integrate with the Salesforce module today. It doesn't cost anything to integrate with the module, but of course Salesforce has an indirect model that requires you to be a Salesforce user on the back end. The charge module I think is available. I think it's $12 per app maybe. So it's and that's a accelerator supported application, accelerator supported module. So that means that you just pay it, you get to integrate it, you use it, you move on. So free and open. And usually I give a workflow on the actual Titanium Studio product. So actually it's included in one of the videos, so we won't go through that. You'll get a pretty clear idea. And then it's just like the recap. It's actually a pretty minimal recap.
All right, good deal.
So how's that for
Good.
15-minute enablement? Go forth and prosper.